I don't think that I could have been a successful young entrepreneur if I didn't value my network.
Sometimes you just have to do it. I think you have to just keep going and continue to do what you're doing.
There's a quote, when times are tough, get tougher.
One, is that super spicy or not so spicy?
In this episode, I'm talking to a live audience of over 60 senior marketers in a unique community called Growclass. It's a marketing school, but it's focused on introducing its students to expert marketers and mentors. In the last 2 years alone, Growclass alumni have gone on to get offers at companies like Google, LinkedIn, Shopify, and more. I'll be talking alongside Sarah Shewey. She's the founder and CEO of a company called Happily, an events company with clients like Airbnb, Autodesk, H&M, and more. She was also one of the founding members of a company called TED Active, which many of us already know. We'll also be joined by Bethany Hale, CMO of a Series B company called Trullion, and they're basically revolutionizing accounting with AI. Prior to Trullion, Bethany held leadership positions at companies like Newfront Insurance, Amex, and IBM. Obviously, we're going to focus heavily on marketing. In particular, how should marketers position themselves to guarantee a job market in today's very, very tough environment? And every time they can't answer a question, we all have to take a shot of delicious hot sauce. Wish me luck, Martians. I hope you enjoy this one.
All right. Welcome, friends. Thank you all for joining us on this lovely Wednesday. My name is Hannah. I lead email and community at Growclass. You've probably seen me poking around your inbox before. If not, hello. It is nice to meet you. If you're not familiar with Growclass, we are a 6-week growth marketing course and community filled with founders, marketers, and freelancers. We teach folks the skills they need to grow their careers and their businesses. So I'll drop a little link in the chat for anyone who's not familiar with Growclass. You can peek at us here. But today, I'm really excited for our panel discussion all about how to land your next role, confidence advice from CMOs. So we are joined with 3 lovely guests today. Do a little wave and do a shout out for you. Simon Chou, Sarah Shewey, and Bethany Hale. Thank you all for being here. Quick little rundown on our guests. So Simon is our panel moderator today. He is the CEO at BCJobs and the host of Marketing on Mars podcast. He's a startup entrepreneur, an advisor, and an executive who is super passionate about community building and keeping things light and candid. He's also a lover of hot sauce, so he's spicing things up today with a little Marketing on Mars twist. I'll drop all of Simon's links in the chat for you to connect with him here. And then we also have Sarah Shewey, who is one of our panelists today. She is the founder and CEO of Happily, as well as the CEO and co-founder of TED Active. She's an inspiring and creative leader, passionate about community and bringing bold ideas to life through experimental storytelling. So I'll drop all her links in the chat as well for you. And last but not least, we have Bethany Hale. Bethany is the Chief Marketing Officer at Trullion. She is a leader with over 20 years of experience in marketing. Bethany specializes in go-to-market strategies and customer experience. She's worked across tech, healthcare, retail, insurance, and travel, always driving innovation and partnerships. So here are all Bethany's links as well. Awesome. So note that this is a collaborative session and the first of its kind, so kind of constructive feedback is welcome. Thank you for everyone who submitted questions for this session when you signed up. We used it to craft the direction of today's discussion. Just a quick reminder of our community guidelines in this shared space. I'm going to drop those in the chat for everyone. Failure to adhere to guidelines will result in your removal from the call or your exposure from the community. But I'm not worried about that because I know we're all kind and generous folks here today. So with that being said, I'm going to pass the mic over to Simon so we can kick off our wonderful panel discussion. Thank you to our guests today. Over to you, Simon. I'm going to spotlight you for everyone so we can see your wonderful face.
Oh, wow. It's a big face. Hey, guys. Oh, Sarah's here. Hey guys, yeah, just thanks for the intro. I'll give a little teaser on what you guys can expect. So this is going to be a live recording of Marketing on Mars. We're recording it. We're going to be posting it on the podcast channel afterwards. Marketing on Mars, basically, it's a podcast I started a year and a half ago. I felt like I didn't know enough smart marketers. And I'm sure we're all feeling the same way as marketers. We always want to meet smarter and smarter marketers. So I decided to start a podcast where I interview the best marketers. Started off with just interviewing a few of my friends, and then it grew to interviewing the CMOs of companies like Slack, ZoomInfo, Stack Overflow, and many, many more. We've also interviewed CMO of Barbie, the owners of Barbie, Mattel. So it's been an incredible journey. And today we have two guests that are near and dear to my heart because they supported me in the earlier parts. Sarah, I believe you're episode 20 something. Sarah was one of the original founders of the TED conference. So any event related questions would be great for Sarah to answer. And Bethany also was at the time you were with Newfront, right? Which was a large company. Like I think they were doing $300 million or something like that in revenue. Now you're at a Series B company, and very excited to catch up. We haven't caught up since then, but
Awesome.
yeah, it's gonna be. I'm gonna pass it over to Sarah and Bethany to do an intro. But basically, what you guys can expect is I prepared some spicy questions because I like hot sauce. And basically, if Sarah and Bethany can't answer a question, we're all gonna take a shot of hot sauce together. That's the theme of the show. But then the rest of the show, I'm going to go through the questions that you guys submitted, and we're going to make it super. I'm just going to pick and choose. Maybe you guys can come up on the mic as well and get a chance to talk to Sarah and Bethany as well. So maybe I'll shut up and pass it over to Bethany.
Hey, thank you. So just want to caveat today's conversation. I got a new puppy last week, and she's sitting on my lap right now. I'm going to introduce you guys to Honey Bun. This is her. So if at one point in the show I run off screen, it's because she's trying to either destroy something I own or murder herself. Like, I don't know what's about to happen. So we'll see how this goes. But when in doubt, just show a cute puppy to make everyone smile. So that's why I'm here. So I'm currently the CMO at a company called Trullion. We are in the accounting SaaS tech platform space. It's an AI native accounting platform. I really love non-sexy businesses. I've been in B2B for most of my career. As mentioned, I was at a company called Newfront, which is an insurance. Before that, a company called Cedar, which is an health tech organization. I consult with a lot of health tech companies. I have a podcast called CMOs Off Script, which is several CMOs and I getting together on a weekly basis to just talk about all things marketing, but also, we're focused on the startup space in health tech with our conversation. But prior to that, I was at IBM and American Express and had some big brand experience, including Samsung. So both B2B and B2C. I love this space. I could talk about it all day. Thank you for including me here, and excited to answer any questions you guys have. Sarah.
Yeah, hi. Wow, like puppy and
Puppy.
and mega credits, Bethany. I mean, like shout out to Bethany and like Lady Boss, like running huge brands. It's so awesome. Like my big credit is TED, and I feel like it was like I was like a right place, right time kind of like, scrappy gal. Like I started my own business when I was 25. And actually my very first kind of paid gig was like a freelancer gig as a freelance event coordinator. And then I never stopped working for myself since 25, and I'm over 40 now. And so, my path is actually quite different from Bethany's, where it's like, hasn't been like sort of like awesome, like brand after brand after brand. I've been part of certain moment, like big inflection moments for different brands as they've been growing. But mostly in the capacity of helping them assemble teams of freelancers that are in the creative production spaces to get those brands like really launched and extended. And so some of the some of the things that like I've like done within like my career is help TED. I was one of the first like 10 people there after they took their talks online. So it started was founded a while ago before I got there, but there was an inflection point where TED started to think of itself as a media company and not an events business. So I was there helping them through that transformation and was building like a satellite event. We called it satellite, which you would maybe call hybrid now, because like we literally had to like rent satellites to like broadcast from like one space to another. And then while I was at TED, I was basically helping all their next gen products, TEDx, translators, ed, everything that was like helping them grow from, again, that sort of small event to like many events in a big sort of media empire. Although I don't think we would ever or have ever called ourselves like an empire. But it's a learning platform, really. And then while I was there, I just got really into technology because I'm just around so many like amazing technologists. And I was like helping brands introduce themselves into this like world of TED, of like other like great like people with great brands and ideas with TED. And I while we were building TEDx, I was like always like, oh, it's really scary to just like license our brand to somebody and like give it to someone who like doesn't produce events and I thought like, wouldn't it be great if we like used like had just like a global database of people that we could like pull from to help these curators and idea people like make their events. And I met this guy who started this like thing called Airbed and Breakfast, which became Airbnb. Like, met one of the founders there, and he was telling me about like how he uses technology to build this. And so I was like, oh, I can like do that. Like instead of like selling, free space in my living room, my app will help people, events people like sell free space in their calendars. So I wound up being like the first of its kind marketplace for freelance event folks. And that's evolved over time. I started that journey in like 2012. And now I really think of Happily as a place for people who are entrepreneurs, like whether it's like techpreneur, mompreneur, eventpreneur, whatever that might be, solopreneur, or like serious entrepreneurs, for them to sort of in the creative and production spaces to come together and make really big, ambitious, and cool projects happen. So
I think you're being humble.
I am like, I was there when TED was like, like I said, it was 10, and like I was there when it like
No, but Happily, like how many employees do you have now? Happily.
I never want to grow past 50, actually. Like that's like a dream of mine. That's like a sweet spot of like the size. But our platform has over 70,000 people on it. So technology like helped me not have to become a manager. And I'm great on like sort of like the vision, the start side, but like the managing, I'm okay at, and I get better at it every day. But like, I mean, like when I say like serious props to Bethany, it's like not just working at those events. It's like she's running big like teams and org teams. There's so much like human work, then like soft skills as well as like technical skills that are really impressive and take like a lot of self-discipline to have.
A lot of startups now, so no more of that.
Well, I'm thirsty, and I have a spicy question for you guys. A lot of people today are starting out their careers, and they want to know, when they get to your guys' stage, how much money are we going to be making when we get to your level? So how much money are you guys making nowadays?
Like as my salary?
Yeah. What's the salary? What can people expect at your guys' level now?
Well, when you're a founder, you always like pay yourself less last. I think I paid myself $40,000 for like years and years, living in Los Angeles. But now I make
Now it's a little more than that.
okay. Like I don't make any more than what my top executives make. So yeah.
150K. Oh, wow. You answered it. Bethany, are you going to answer as well?
I love this question. It is a personal situation for people. And like comp is many things. It's your salary, which can be based on where you live and your experience level. It's your variable comp, which can change every quarter, every year. You get spot bonuses. Who knows? I've definitely had ups and downs in what I've made year to year. It's not always just a straight, shot up every year. I've also taken roles where I took a pay cut to work in a different type of organization. Going from IBM to a small startup that no one have ever heard of was a pay cut, like no question. You've got benefits to think about. You also have equity compensation. So what does that all look like? I mean, my package right now is between 350 and 500, including
Dollars.
all the
No.
things. Yeah. Yes, I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
$1,000.
$1,000, yes.
Per year. Okay.
And sometimes I have other revenue streams coming through client advisory work or passive income from other channels. I'm doing a podcast now. We're not making money yet, but there's a revenue plan in the future. All of those things can happen. So that's my answer. I'm going to answer it too. I don't know if a range is good, but it does
Right.
vary depending on the year.
Well, because you both answered, I will do a shot of hot sauce for that because you guys answered. So if you guys want to join me, you can, but I will do the first shot of hot sauce. Wow, I did not expect an answer. Cheers.
Like what hot sauce is it?
I'm gonna do sweet onion, sweet OG, onion garlic hot sauce. Cheers. All right.
Is that your one? Is that super spicy or not so spicy?
That's one. That's one out of 4. So it's not going to be really spicy. Damn,
Right.
that was. Thank you guys. Round of applause for them for answering. I've asked this question to 105 CMOs and I've gotten 4 answers. So thank you guys for being vulnerable and answering that. Okay, I'm gonna go over to the audience now. So you guys have submitted questions. I want you guys to come on stage and talk to us. If you guys have a question, put your hand up. But I'm gonna read out this question by Amaranta because it's a very good question, and I think you guys are the best to answer this. So Amaranta, she said that I want to secure a new role that I'm passionate about, but I've been out of the workforce for 4 years because I was caring for my child. I prefer not to mention this in my resume. How can I go about doing that?
Mention resume. That's like a total error, I feel like, personally. Or you don't have to mention it in your resume, but put it in your cover letter, and like I think that I'm a new mom. I have a 1.5-year-old, and I never appreciated how difficult it was to be a mom. And I don't believe that we are going to lift ourselves up as women until we acknowledge and recognize home work as work. So yeah, mention it, girl.
I agree. I recently hired someone who had been out of the workforce for 18 months after she had twins. And I was so happy to get her. She had worked at Stripe before and Facebook before and IBM before, and she wanted to work in a startup, and she was really hungry to be part of the team and re-enter the workforce. And I could not be happier. She does great work, but we've got to think about work-life balance and dealing with our own children or other parts of our lives, puppies in my case. And I also have a 10-year-old daughter, but I've been there. And as a mom, sometimes I worked the hardest at my day job, my office job, when I had a newborn, and you make it work. And so I wouldn't feel embarrassed about it. There probably is, I wouldn't hide it in any way. There probably is still some bias out there. I don't want to say that isn't the case, but I would try to be upfront about it and call that out. And I think there's nothing wrong with taking some time off of a career to spend with your family. So I would not worry at all. And yeah, talk about it in the resume for sure.
Awesome. Okay. I love that. And I guess Bethany, you have a child? I guess you have a baby. You have a baby now on your lap.
Yeah, my fur baby has departed. We'll see if I have to run after her at some point. But yeah, I have a 10-year-old daughter and now a new puppy. So I'm home for the next 2 weeks. I forgot how having a puppy is like having a baby, but not so much exactly. But there's elements that are reminding me why I don't have more than one child.
Yeah.
One
And
and
one and done. Hey guys, feel free to put, you can use the reactions. There's like a raise hand function. So if you want to be come up and talk to Bethany and Sarah, and I'll be here too. Yeah, feel free to put your hand up. There's a question from Ivan Thomas. Ivan, I see you, Ivan. Are you want to unmute yourself?
Yeah, it's Ivan.
Oh, Ivan. Okay. I'm bad at reading, but do you remember your question, or do you want me to read it out for you? Do you remember your
No,
question?
yeah, I think you could read because I forgot. It was related to this, but then
Okay. You said something about like you are looking for a role in an agency, but you've never worked in an agency before. You've only done like freelance projects, right? Something like that.
yeah.
Okay. And your question is, should you include the freelance projects on your resume, or what's
Yeah,
well,
listen, how to position myself as having the experience, but because for a lot of positions that they have job descriptions for, they don't really give you this filter as in whether you have a marketing experience or a hardcore agency experience. So it's really hard to apply for some jobs, even though I understand how the process works. So just to understand how to position myself when applying for those kind of roles, that was what I was thinking. Yeah.
all right, Sarah, you want to take this?
Go ahead. But I felt
Or
about
Bethany, yeah,
Jump
Bethany.
in because ultimately you don't want to be applying via some online format and submitting a resume and to someone you don't know, is it AI reviewing your resume or whatever. So it's really, I mean, I just highly encourage you to network in the agency space and talk to people about, maybe it's just an informational interview or a 20-minute coffee or something. I think spending time with people in the agency space, understanding more about what they do, their client projects, put yourself out there, network, all of those things are gonna, yes, you need a resume and bring it with you and all those things, but like if you're relying on just submitting through some kind of job portal, I don't think you're going to have great results in that way. So I would spend more time talking to people who are, your soon to be colleagues in the agency space and get information from them, understand how your current background looks to them and their reaction to it and what they'd like to see more of, so that you can start to structure your experience in a way that's going to resonate with them and make sense. I do think freelance and project-based work is going to resonate to an agency hiring manager. So I would encourage you to highlight that for sure. But I think you want to organize as many in-person or Zoom or whatever conversations with these people as possible versus, going through some digital channel. But yeah, that's it.
I have been trying to network with these agency folks on LinkedIn, but I think there is some kind of barrier because I think out of say 20, 30 informational interview requests I've sent, just got back. I heard back from like 2 or 3, and they were like, they stuck to this templatized answer as in you need to have kind of agency experience for our agency to kind of consider. And while I respect that, I just don't feel it's fair when you take into account that I do have whatever experience they have been asking for in the job description. So that's what I was thinking. But thank you so much for your answer, Bethany.
Yeah, of course. Sarah, what else would you add?
I mean, mine is like, why do you want to work for an agency? It's like the hardest job ever, like the hardest organization ever. But that's my first kind of question on that. And then, I think that agencies have I mean, it's hard because agencies like have a lot of turnover. You have crazy hours, and people are it's hard to find agencies that are like really healthy, have healthy cultures actually. And so not to say that those don't exist, but that being said, if you're really like, yeah, I want to do like agency work, at the end of the day, I feel like you reach out with a very thoughtful press, take a little bit of time on those agencies that you really like to like understand their work, their clients, put together a really good cover letter, maybe even a deck. Agencies like speak in deck in PowerPoint or like slides. So make a really nice like slide deck, you know, about you and why you integrate into their agency and what you can give to them or do for them. And I think you send that around and undercut on your salary, get your foot in the door, and then move on after you get agency experience to get work for a better agency that's going to pay you more money. That's what I would do.
Okay, cool. Good question. I want to actually ask another kind of spicy question. I don't know if it's like you guys would probably be able to answer it, but are you guys hiring any marketing roles right now, Sarah or Bethany? Currently,
Yeah, I'm looking for a growth marketer.
you're looking for a growth marketer. Um, what's what are the requirements? Would you hire today if you found someone else good?
Yeah, I think I have to like build a job description because I had somebody I just fired last week. So this is like oh, I do need this thing now. But
I think there are growth marketers in this room.
probably not today, but I will yeah, I mean what I'm really looking for is somebody that can like hold and own. It's like growth and really data minded, data focused, that can like track all of our, you know, customer journeys and help analyze and all that stuff. So yeah.
And I don't have open roles right now. I came into Trullion about a year ago. I hired 5 or 6 folks throughout the course of the year. I probably will. I'm looking for maybe one more FTE to add to the team in 2025, and I'm waiting on approval for that. But it would also be a growth focus, probably a partner marketer. We do a lot of work with alliance partnerships in the audit and accounting space. And so we do a lot of co-branded campaigns and things like that and webinars with those partners that we probably need support on. So if I do get a hire, it'll be in that space in 2025. We also do work with a lot of freelance contractors across the board, everything from like my content strategist is going out on maternity leave in about a month. And so trying to figure out if I need support to fill in while she's out. And, you know, design needs always ebb and flow and things like that. So we bring in people as needed on the freelance basis.
What would your like maybe back to Sarah or a growth manager, what would you be willing to pay for a growth manager in this market?
Like it just sort of depends on their experience with starting around like 80K for someone that's like, you know, starting out and then like has some experience and is growing and has talent. But client
80K USD?
US, yeah.
And would you want them to be based in California or
About that.
doesn't matter? Can be anywhere. Okay, cool. I think we have a question from Rajbir. Your hand has been up for a while. I apologize. Yeah, feel free to ask your question. Are you?
Just on mute, my friend.
You're on mute.
There you go. Oh, yeah.
Oh, you're forever muted. Your mic doesn't want you to speak. I can lip read. Just talk and I'll lip read.
Can you type a question in the chat? Put the question in the chat. We'll answer it, I think. Or we'll take some hot sauce.
You know what? Should we just take a shot on sauce right now? I feel like I'm not gonna get you guys. What do you guys have anyways? I don't even know what hot sauce you have.
Okay, we'll talk about it, but I do see his question in the chat. I'm doing a theme. It's a green pepper theme, but I'm starting very slow with Chihuahua, which we all love. I've got Queen Majesty jalapeno tequila and lime hot sauce. This is an ode to you, Simon, because last time I was on your show, we had a whole sidebar about tequila that like was not necessary, but we went down this weird road. And then my third is Yellowbird Serrano hot sauce, all green. This one's delicious. I had all 3 on my breakfast this morning, strangely, because I wanted to just make sure I was
good.
in good territory. That's what we're doing. So I'm happy to do a shot.
Okay, Sarah, what do you have?
Okay, I am like so embarrassed about this because like I don't know. Like, I actually don't buy hot sauce. It's my husband that does. And like,
Oh, you just did it, Bethany? You just did the shot?
I just did it. Was I supposed to wait? Do I have to do it again?
you do.
Yeah, you gotta. It's tradition.
Y'all, okay, sorry. I'm ready. I just was really thirsty to share.
Oh, excited. Okay, sorry, Sarah. Yeah, what is it?
So like that, I was like just like looking at all of yours, like how beautiful your bottles are. This is like
Tell me you're Asian without telling me you're Asian.
yeah, exactly. This is the most
That's
Asian.
like the Asian.
Also, what I think is so Asian about it is that like it's like a giant jar, like compared to my next jar, like tiny. The lauganmai.
Okay, let's do that. Let's do that. We can do the. Okay, I'm gonna pour it out. All right, Bethany, join us for this one.
All right, I'm gonna switch up. I did my Chihuahua. Now I'm
I'm
gonna
doing cayenne. You handle it. It's my favorite,
That one looks good.
just because the name. Cheers.
All right, cheers.
Anyone that has hot sauce, feel free to join us.
Mm.
Ooh, it is spicy. 2 a.m. Nothing like doing hot sauce at 2 a.m. Ooh. All right. All right,
It-
Raj beer.
It's not meant to be done as a shot. Like it's just.
Well- Really? That's not what my mom told me.
Oh God. Okay.
Yeah. Raj beer, you want to join us?
Nice. Thank you, everybody. So I come from SEO and content background, and I've been looking for work for the past 10 months. And after being on a mat leave for about 2 years. So yeah, I have applied for so many jobs, and even through referrals. So I've even got to the last round after giving the test and finishing all rounds of interviews. But always, and this has happened about 10 times in the last 10 months. The last round, I get rejected there. Like they always come back. We've chosen some other candidates. So it's really frustrating at this point. Just wondering if you have any advice or what can I do?
First of all, that's so demoralizing. I'm very sorry to hear that. And I have some friends and close family members going through similar issues and it really sucks to get to final rounds and not make it time and time again. Like it's demoralizing to happen once, happen multiple times is like not okay. Like it's really, really tough. I mean, I think you have to just keep going. And continue to do what you're doing. But I think also not knowing your full situation, is it worth exploring other options in the sense of can you do freelance contract work? Can you have other conversations on the side? Can you consider, other ways that you could bring in income for your family in the meantime while you're looking for that dream job and, the things that you need?
At this point, there's no dream job. I have and yes, I've been open to other opportunities, contracts, freelancing. But yeah, it's nothing is materializing. And if I have agency background, I worked in big enterprises, but when it actually comes to specific jobs, everybody's looking for. I mean, that's what I've noticed, that whatever jobs they want the exact experience, and there's hardly any flexibility that I can see right now in the market.
Well, I think
Sarah.
a little bit harder in helping to tell the story for them, like why the experience that you have maps back to the specific thing that they're looking for, which is, more work for you for sure. And I think a lot of, I don't know what size of companies or, I think SEO and content, most of the, half of the people know what they're actually do know what they're looking for, and half the people don't have a clue. So, and at the end of the day, you are content, right? So like the storytelling, just, I would say really think about your story, maybe work on, have some the friends that really that isn't people that you talk to all the time as well too, but actually do role play with you on those interviews. And I say this with as with the lens of TED, right? you can tell a story one way and convince the masses, and you can tell the story another way and like not get anywhere, right? So I do think like storytelling probably comes down to it, and then and perhaps use your skills in like the freelancing stuff and like help like maybe put together like here's what my first like 30 and 90 days like could be, again like a little bit of hard work to just like help illustrate like your experience and your approach.
Stand out from
Sarah.
yeah.
100% on that. So a +1. I was going to also say, as Sarah was talking, it just struck me. I had a conversation with my team just this week, and I saw like a deck they were putting together, like sales enablement, supporting our sales team with a pitch deck. And I said, this looks okay. This is passable. But if we had to go head to head with a competitor, and we knew that that competitor was coming in right after us, is this the deck we'd go in with? Is this what we'd, put out as our best work? And in my opinion, it's passable, but it's not going to win the deal if we knew we were in head-to-head competition with someone else. And you just articulated that one of the issues is you're getting down to those last 2 candidates and you're losing. I'm almost thinking, you get far along in the process and you have to come in with like extra. You got to be so extra. You got to come in with a plan. I already ran your SEO analysis. I did this for you. It's a free, like have this analysis, whether you hire me or not. But I think you're missing out if you don't hire me, because this is the kind of thing I can do for you. And I think it comes down to like really putting all your chips on the table at that final round, or earlier in the rounds, like eliminate your competition from the beginning. But I would analyze your own presentation with that organization like you're going head to head with the best and brightest out there, which it sounds like you are, right? Like it is a tough market. And so I think you have to be creative and think of ways that you can come in above and beyond. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, there's a quote, when times are tough, get tougher. So right now, everyone is fighting for similar positions. I think you just gotta, I love what everyone you guys said. On that note, Rajveer, do email me. I have a friend who's looking for a freelance SEO person. It's not gonna be full time, but I can, happy to make an introduction. Just send me over your resume, and I can, I'll take a look and make an intro. Okay. Let's see. Anyone else have any questions? Feel free to put your hand up. I'm gonna go ahead and ask a question. Now that we're talking about interviews and people not making it all the way, I was curious to hear from you guys, because you guys both probably hire quite a bit. Give us, I want to know some examples of really bad interviews that have happened in the last month, so that we can learn what the pitfalls were, like what made it so bad, and maybe we can avoid that, and we can try to, and then maybe on the flip side later on, we'll talk about some good interviews. Any memorable bad ones and what makes it bad?
Sarah, do you want to kick off, or do you want me to go?
I was like, man, I don't want to think about that. But like, I'll just group it, right? Like, the bad interviews are when people get defensive. I'm like, oh gosh, and then I'm stuck there. I try to like leave as fast as I can, because I'm looking for a team mate. I'm looking for somebody who can, if you don't disagree or think like I asked the question in the wrong way, like comes at it with a team, like in the mentality that you're already a part of my team. You're when I'm interviewing, I'm like, can I work with this person regularly? So people who like get defensive, I would say like is a really bad interview for me. It's probably like top of my list, which I don't think that because I've already generally assessed skills before I'll interview you.
The only thing that can come to mind right now, because we've all had like just bad, and I had somebody like eating a sandwich on an interview. Like, don't do that. Don't eat a sandwich. Don't have your lunch on your interview. Like, there's some basic things that I've seen which are hilarious, and I kind of want to work with that person just because they're so audacious, but just don't do it. Yeah, bold choice. Thank you, Jenna. Agree. So I give everyone on my team a case study interview. And so it's like I'm asking you to do a little work and come in prepared with an analysis of like the company in some way, shape, or form. Like we're looking to grow, and it depends on the role. So obviously a product marketer is going to have a different question than a growth marketer, or, and a designer is going to have, a design challenge that's very different. But I think in that capacity, the good versus bad is like, did you actually think about our company and our positioning, or is it something you just got AI to do for you? And like, because there's sort of the basic approach of like, okay, here's what a marketing funnel looks like at the basic level, and here's what you do at each level to move the needle from a revenue perspective or lead gen perspective. But like, what can Trullion do? And do you understand our business? And have you thought about our personas? And like those kinds of things I think really matter. So it's just someone coming in with like a little bit more like understanding of our business and kind of putting that extra work in to the process. And I've had people say, I'm really busy. I'm an executive. I don't need to do a case. Like, look at my resume. And I'm like, sorry, that's part of the requirements of coming into the team is like, I need to understand how you think and how you work. And if you won't do the assignment, that's telling me all I need to know, that kind of thing. So it is a tough interview process. But for me, it makes a big difference in my confidence around making someone an offer.
That actually reminded me of a crazy thing that happened in an interview recently. So we were like interviewing and stuff like that. And then it's like, do you have questions? Do you have questions? And they went off mute in Zoom. And then I heard
Was he eating a sandwich?
their AI, their like chat GPT, so on their phone, their chat GPT was listening. And then they were like, and I noticed there was like a little bit of this going on, and they were having the chat GPT listen and then ask the chat GPT, what question should I ask next? And then they like stopped it. And then the AI, and it was like a female voice on a male interview. And we were like, what was that? And then that person was like very like, he was like just tried to pretend like nothing happened, it was crazy.
That's wild.
So it was basically like AI dependency, at least peak AI dependency that I've seen so far.
I love that story. So funny.
Wild.
That's crazy. Someone asked the question. I don't know if Daniela is here. I don't see a Daniela, but she had asked a good question. Do you recommend people that are applying for jobs to have a strong personal brand on LinkedIn?
Yeah.
I like it. Yeah.
Why wouldn't you do that? Like,
For all roles? For all roles, or like certain roles you would prefer them not like I guess everyone here is a marketer, so all marketers should, regardless of what role, right?
Yeah, and it's also like, we live in an age of like transparency, and like the whole interview process is we get like hundreds of people that we're sifting through. So the more that like you can, and with LinkedIn, you control what you put on there, right? So it's sort of like you can control how we perceive you. And like give yourself a boost there. So there's literally, and it's free. So there's like literally no reason why you wouldn't do that. Should invest or not.
I think the downside is with any brand, some people are going to like you or like they're going to resonate with your brand, and that's going to feel authentic or whatever, and like aligned with the job maybe that you're going after. And other people are going to not like it so much potentially, and it's not going to be their cup of tea. So I think you just have to sort of understand that with anybody's brand, it's like, it's not maybe going to appeal to everyone out there. And so, I mean, I like showing personality, and I like being authentic, and even informal sometimes in how you approach social media. And like, again, I do think it maybe is role dependent. Like if you're hiring a social media manager and the person is clearly like an expert in how they're managing their own brand on social media, like that's so cool to see. But I do think there's probably a risk if you're going for a more traditional organization, and like just maybe that the hiring manager is not gonna love the brand you're putting out there. So hopefully they do.
As a marketing leader, though, have you ever, said no to someone who has a really strong brand on LinkedIn, but you just didn't agree with it? Or like they say, all marketing is good marketing.
Who says that?
Some wise man.
Definitely a man. Just kidding. So I have hired, there was someone in for an experiential role who had a very strong like social media presence that it was in insurance at the time. So this was while I was at Newfront. There's a very buttoned up side of that industry. And so it didn't make or break my decision to hire the candidate. Someone else came in and was more qualified and was a better for the team for other reasons. But I was slightly nervous about the direction they were going with their social media and like how partners in this insurance company were going to feel about that direction. Like wouldn't have mattered to me as much as it would to some other folks on the leadership team, perhaps, if that came to light.
I have another story. So my brother couldn't be any different than me. But he's really good at like the viral stuff and like putting himself out there. And he's always looking for, he's a sales guy, and he like makes much money, looks for the next one, looks for the next one, looks for the next one. And as he was looking one time, he changed his LinkedIn cover image to like Jar Jar Binks, like from Star Wars. And I was like, this is so odd. Like, what are you doing as his like older sister? And he's like, you don't know. He's like, this is gonna attract the right person to me. And like, lo and behold, it does, right? So like to Bethany's point, I think on the flip side, it's like, yeah, it's like you're gonna, if you put like Jar Jar Binks or something that's like an obscure meme, or you're really out there, like, or more out there than what like a traditional company would be, then you are going to like not get those opportunities, but you will then probably like more strongly attract those that fit your personal brand and style, and perhaps you'll be happier actually at the end of the day.
Spicy question. Have you guys ever liked a candidate, got really far with the candidate, and then they tried to negotiate a salary, and the salary was too high, and you guys just said no?
No. A negotiation's a negotiation. If they come into like, first of all, you should be having those conversations a little more upfront. There was a situation where someone came in, I made an offer. She was like very unhappy with the offer, which wasn't gonna be good for either of us, but I couldn't come in higher. And the HR team had talked to her early in the process. She knew the range that was possible for this role, but I think like over the course of the conversations, she felt very confident that she was going to get the role. And I had done all this back channel reference checking and like all this stuff. I did really like her and wanted her to join the team, but there was such a kind of poor attitude at the end about the fact that the offer wasn't going to get any higher that I felt really uncomfortable making her the offer after I had already extended it, and had multiple conversations with her about the offer. Because I was like, if you're coming in and you're already sort of disgruntled about the package, like it's not going to be a good situation.
So like, you called her and you had this conversation with her.
Yeah. We had several conversations about it, and we ultimately, I said no. I think we ultimately didn't end up extending the offer to her because there was so many conversations that just like made it clear she was not going to be happy with the package we had to offer. So yeah, I guess there was a situation where I had extended an offer. She negotiated. We were like, no. And then we said we don't think this is the right fit based on your expectations of what this role can provide. So she was not happy, and whether that was right or wrong, like that was the situation that we ended up in. But typically you should never come into that situation, because you should be having conversations up front and making sure that you're not disappointed. Like, the last thing you want to do for a good candidate experience is surprise someone at the end of 8 hours of interviews with a comp package that isn't meeting their expectations.
Sarah, any short, maybe like a quick short story if you have one, and then we'll do a last.
I'm a startup, and like I said, I'm like, oh, I top out at 150K. Like, it's like I'm not getting Bethany's, coming in to apply for me. But like in California, I'm like required to put my salary range in there, so it's like, it kind of weeds out. And there have been times where I've like stretched or like that, pushed for a little bit more, and I'll do like equity, or I'll do like a fractional thing and test them out and see, if they're bringing in revenue on a fractional basis, and then like that like justifies more spend, they can do it. That's usually like how I'll navigate like those types of situations. Sometimes it works for people and sometimes it doesn't. But I will have to say that most of the time that I did actually try to do like fractional and then like see if it came out later, it wound up not working, because at the very beginning there was a mismatch, and for whatever reason, so probably not. It's like a budget's a budget. Like I'm in end of year budgeting time right now, and let me just tell you, it's like very small wiggle room. And I think a lot of folks when they're interviewing, they take it personally and they think it's like about them and their skills, and it's like, I have a budget.
Yeah, businesses have to run, they have to be profitable. Totally get it. Okay, Hannah, do we have time for one last question, or you want to wrap up?
We do have time for one more if y'all are okay, because I think this one goes till 12:15. So y'all are good?
Oh, we have
Okay.
plenty of time.
I got
Sure,
one
take-
question in my DMs, actually, if you're okay with me asking that one. So a little question here for friends. How do you deal with imposter syndrome when job hunting? For example, not fully meeting the required experience, but having an idea about it or some experience. So imposter syndrome.
I think the problem with imposter syndrome is when you give power to thoughts that minimize you, instead of like really trying to deeply understand the thought that is stopping you from seeing yourself as enough and as enough. And so what I heard is that, like, practically speaking, you may not have certain skills. And I think coming with that, like, it's not even vulnerability, but with that realism, like in your interview, these are the skills that I don't have that, like, I want to work on, and I think it'll take me X days to get there. Do you provide any learning resources like this and this, that type of thing as you're like getting forward. That like that just moves you faster into like a place of like growth personally and professionally. Whereas if you just sort of like give into, I have imposter syndrome, this idea that you have imposter syndrome, you're just going to have more and more of that because you're feeding that. So that's my 2 cents.
I think that's right. I go back to also with networking, and again, if you're leaving your job application to chance in a digital format, like applying via online channels, those skill gaps you're not even going to get through the first round or the first sort of qualification point. So the more you can network and talk to people who are in the role or get warm referrals or introductions, those skill gaps become maybe less important, because sometimes the folks who wrote the job description kind of wrote it, and if you don't have a certain experience level, like maybe they'll make exceptions because they know you and they understand your skill set, versus like, again, going through some kind of very black or white kind of qualification online. So like that part's tough. And I agree with Sarah saying, like, if you're self-aware and you understand your skill gaps and you're actively trying to improve on those skill gaps, like that goes a long way for sure. Yeah, I would just like a constant focus on self-improvement and like and to Sarah's point as well, part of it's your mindset. I've been blessed with being probably overconfident in every situation, and I fail wildly sometimes, like massively. I go into massive failures and then I'm like, yeah, I learned so much in that failure. Like what a great situation. And I kind of look at it from a positive perspective. But I failed a ton. I still come away with like, yeah, I could do that. Like no problem. So I'm probably the opposite of like overconfidence syndrome, and that bites me in the ass every so often. But I do think if you come into the realization that it is just a matter of perspective of like, you bring a lot of great things to the table, focus on your skills and your strengths and try to minimize in your mind the things that are weaknesses a little more, and like actively improve those things if you feel like it's worth it to spend the time on that skill set. Like there's things I'm actively not good at and I'm not trying to improve myself in those areas. Like that's okay too. Like I don't need to be good at everything. And it's making those decisions for yourself of like what skills really bring you joy when you're improving upon those things, and like focus on your strengths, and like other things maybe you don't need to spend so much time on. I don't know.
No, I love it. Okay, cool. And also I just wanted to double click on this one point. I think there's a difference between having overconfidence in your ability and then imposter syndrome versus you might have taken one SEO course and now you think you're qualified for an SEO position. I think there's a difference in that. I don't think that's imposter syndrome. That's you don't have that experience and you really don't have confidence because you've never done it before. And so if you're just taking the course and you expect to get that senior SEO position, that's just you're probably underqualified. So I would because if you're gonna walk into an SEO job interview, you're gonna get dinged with a lot of questions. They're gonna dive deep. So would keep that in mind. If any other questions, feel free to put your hand up. I'm going to keep going through the list. Let's see.
We got one in chat if you don't mind. Ashwini is wondering, is it acceptable to ask the hiring manager for a coffee chat or a call to discuss it?
Nice. That's a
And
good question.
those won't do that. They don't have the time. It's like, so I'm like, go for it, but don't be too pushy. Don't keep your hopes up. It would be better for you to ask for a coffee chat from the person who's the direct report or adjacent to on the team than your hiring manager. Yeah.
I'm going to probably not answer this question well, but my 2 cents is the way this question is worded is like you're asking for a favor. Can you have coffee with me to tell me if I would be a good fit for your team? Is there a way to flip that? And so you're providing value in some way to this person who's really busy and probably even more stressed than normal because they need to hire a person. And so they're probably doing some of that job. So like, what value can you bring to the table that is going to make this person's day better versus, oh shit, now I have to spend 30 minutes with some rando who wants to work at this company who I don't have any knowledge of, right? Like I'm saying that in a harsh way by design because like potentially that's what someone's thinking as they're like sorting through their 200 emails in a day. So if there is a glimmer of like, I can add some value to your process versus can you do me a favor, I think you should milk that.
Yeah. And like even
100%.
plusing or like liking or commenting on that hiring manager's like LinkedIn post or whatever is providing more value than you asking for time to sit.
That's true. That's a great point.
Yeah, that's such an easy thing to do. Like, what if that hiring manager posted a video of their company's offsite in Mexico, and you comment, you're like, this looks like an amazing offsite, and then you lead in with that, and you lead in with that conversation. Obviously, leading with value is the best. that's always like, I always think leading with value is the best, but at the very least, give some love first before you ask for something in return, right?
And Simon, you just made me think, gifting is always approved. Like bring some hot sauce. That's cool. Some hot sauce. I'm just kidding. Don't try your way into the role, but yeah, speaking of adding value.
I was like, damn, but what gifts have you gotten? Like that's my spicy
No
heart.
one's ever gotten me a gift, but I would that would be a welcome surprise. That'd be cool.
And I was like, let's circulate that more gifts to our
Type your address, Bethany. Give us your address, and then
Like I'll
yeah. How cool would it be if someone, like, let's say Bethany, you're hiring for a role, whatever, in the future, and that person remembered that you got a dog and led with that, somehow gave you a gift and had the resume attached. I don't know.
Well, and you're being like, yeah, we're skirting bribery here, but like what I think is valuable about this point is
The bag of
I
money.
have bag of money. I'll take it, Scrooge McDuck style. So like what I think is important is like I'm hiring people who I want to run my gifting strategy. If they send me a little package that's like, thank you for your time, here's like something that is like a gesture with a handwritten note or whatever, like that's memorable. And so, it's not about like spend a lot of money on this thing, but it is about stand out and add value. And so if I'm looking at someone and through the interview process and they go again above and beyond and do something to stand out, like that's pretty cool. And so to the extent you can think about those things and remember something that happened in the conversation of the interview, or you heard this person on a podcast say these things, and that struck you and you wanted to like follow up on that point, like do it. Like I think that's a great way in.
I wanted to double click on one point, Bethany, that you mentioned, that you said just do networking. If you're especially, we're in a room full of marketers. If you were looking for a job right now in 2024, 2025, where would you do your networking as a marketer?
Okay, so I'm now trying to spend more time with CMOs and groups of individuals, and I do it not for my next job, although that could be on the horizon at some point, but like I'm looking for people who have talent in their networks that I could, leverage for any number of things, like agency support. And it's always good to have like other folks who are doing your job and like get ideas from them and get references or network from them, those kinds of things. So I am part of a LinkedIn group of CMOs that they've started that focus on B2B, like that space. And then there's like the CMO Alliance and things like that. So I'm doing things there. But there was someone on this call earlier, the gentleman who asked about agency work. I'm going to this event called Creative Mornings. I live in New York. So there's a organization called Creative Mornings. I found my city. There's a person who I think used to be a creative director for RGA who's speaking, and their name is Ren Rigby, I believe. But in any case, I'm going to see them talk on Friday, and like that's what I'd be doing, that kind of thing. Like these are other people who are in the creative space, a person who like has a great background who's speaking. Like, yeah, I want to go up to them after their speech and like learn a little bit more, get some time with them if I can, or even just the people who show up at this event would be probably cool to chat with. And so I'm an introvert, and like I can work that angle for a few minutes and then I have to go away and be at home by myself. But so it's not like natural for me. I don't love it. I don't love going into a group of people that I don't know very well or at all and like start conversations with people. But sometimes you just have to do it. Like that's just part of, but I do think you can find those avenues that might be more appropriate for you and your comfort level. Like I prefer smaller group settings. If it's a dinner of 20 people or less, like I'll be more likely to go than a 300-person event, which is what this thing is on Friday that I'm going to go and probably feel nervous before I leave my house in the morning of like, oh crap, I'm going to have to talk to people and like be on and alert, and it's Friday morning and I'm tired and all those things. But like, anyway, that's probably a longer answer than you wanted, but I do think you have to make the effort. And looking back on my career, the network that I have now is so important to anything I want to do going forward. Whether it's like the reason I'm part of a podcast is because of my network. They called me and asked me to be part of it. Like the reason I had advisory work offered to me is because of my network and the people that I knew in previous jobs that I was keeping active touch with and those kinds of things. So I do think
how old were you when you first started valuing your network? Do you remember?
I don't even know if I still value it enough, but probably within the last like 5-6 years. So I was probably 35, 40, but when I was really valuing it. Yeah.
Do you think it was just the right time to start because you're at the, or do you think the earlier you start, the better? Or like, yeah,
the better. Just like you never know what people will come back around. Sarah, yeah, sorry.
Sarah, I know you really want to say something.
Like, well, I went to USC, University of Southern California, where like at college they tell you it's all about your all about your network. And I don't think that I could have been a successful young entrepreneur if I didn't value my network when I was 20, when, you know, like 5 years before I started my business at 25. So even
like,
to my network.
we all hear that your network is your net worth. We hear it all the time, but I don't know. Some people get it and some people don't. And I wish I had the secret formula. Like, I wish everyone listening to this call hears you guys speak and be like, I'm starting a list right now of everyone that I've met. Like, I wish that would happen after this call. But like for me, I didn't start really valuing my network until I was like 27, 28. Like it was a little 26, 27 kind of. It was a little late, right? Like I wish I started when I was 20. But yeah.
Do you think it's important to start valuing it before you like really desperately need it, right? Like I think that was part of the impetus for when I was, I need a network, is because I was like, I'm in a terrible job that I don't like with people. Like I got to get out of here and I don't know how, because like it's going to take me a minute to find a new job. And so then I started calling people and I was like, who do you know? What do you know? Let's have coffee. We should chat. Like, and so I was in like desperate straits when I started really like actively working my network, and you don't want to be in that situation. Like it could have been much easier.
They say that you are the sum of the 3 people that you interact with the most. And if you think about that, right, like at least that's something that's a really guiding thing for me. Like, who do I interact with the most? Like, are they like inspirational to me? You know, am I providing value? Is there like a good mutual exchange between us? And so those 2 questions, are they inspirational? Like I'm always building my network so I can find someone better to like kind of like help me get better. And I'm always thinking about how can I provide value to and attract those people that provide value and provide value to my like 3 that I interact with more, and then attract more people, and that like winds up attracting more, and that just like grows the network like organically and in a way that feels, I don't know, just like really generous, but also really rewarding.
Yeah. Well, I think we're up on time. To the 39 people that are still here, thank you so much for staying all the way. You guys are awesome. Yeah, hearts as well. I'm dropping my LinkedIn link, Bethany, Sarah, if you guys want to do that, in case people want to follow you or whatever, feel free to do that. Sarah, Bethany, always a pleasure. By the way, we have to do, oh, look at the dog. We have to do round 2. Sarah, Bethany, we've only done one round on Marketing on Mars. We'll have to get back and do round 2 at some point. But thanks do you guys want any parting last words for the crew?
Well, thank you, Simon, for bringing us together in this group of individuals. So thank you to the Growclass team and you, Simon, for bringing us together. I've been inspired by you and the work that you're doing on the Marketing on Mars front as well. So thanks for including me. And very nice to meet you, Sarah.
Likewise. Yeah.
Yeah, you guys are connected, so I'll get. And Jenna, Anna, shout out to you guys, and we'll pass the mic back to you guys.
Thank you all so much. That was wonderful. Appreciate the insights, sharing all your valuable knowledge with us today. I dropped all the links in the chat for everyone. So if you do want to connect with Simon, Sarah, or Bethany, I'll drop it one more time. I got their LinkedIn's in there and all their websites as well. This session was recorded, so we'll be sending out the recording soon. As soon as it's ready, we'll be in your inboxes. Thank you again, Simon, Bethany, Sarah. This was a great session, and thank you everyone who asked questions and put your hands up and participated. Appreciate it, making me feel so warm and welcome today. So enjoy the rest of your week, friends. We'll see you in your inboxes soon. Take it easy.
Good night.
Thank you. Bye-bye.